Hello and welcome to a new life coaching video. So this video is about, is experience better than qualifications? And in my opinion, even though I still do get some GCSEs, I learned a lot of skills through working. And the first ever job I ever had once I left school was being a steward at a film football club. And it helped me to sort of come out of my shell and not be so shy and it was a good way of sort of keeping in touch with people, because you're basically there to look after them and make sure they can enjoy the football match without trouble or anything else that could occur. And when I first left school, it seemed that even though I stayed on and did a GNVQ, they were looking more for experience than at my qualification. And so that's why I always wanted, when I first left school, because I was really a massive football fan. Still kind of am, but a bit weary of it now. I wrote to every club in London, looking through the yellow pages, and that's how I got the stewarding job. And it wasn't sort of regular work; it was casual work. But it's still an option if you are leaving school, and and it still earns you a little bit of money. I think it was you got about £10. I think 10 or 20 quid you got for it, and then if you debited the pitch after the game, you got an extra tenner. And so I would do that, and I did a bit of work experience at the Football Club, helping the groundsmen, and that was brilliant. I absolutely loved doing that. It was something I never thought I would get to do, and I did, and I loved it. And I wish that I'd kept with it, to be honest. But then I found work up in London. I worked for a marketing company as an office junior, and that involved all sorts, like getting pictures fitted, getting frames fixed, to doing printing, photocopying, updating the office library, making teas and coffees for meetings, watering the plants, to painting the stairs. It was a bit of everything. And I learned most of my skills through working rather than through education. And I mean, the thing that I'm doing now is writing, and that's what I've been doing since I was a kid, and it's now a dream. I'm living this kind of like the dream job I've always wanted, which is to be a full-time writer, which I am. And I know there's those who are disputing that, but I'm not a liar. I wouldn't say it just for the sake of it, and it's true. It's just that I'm being very cautious with the money that I'm earning, because I want to use it for different purposes, like towards my son, other children that I may have, and for their future. And and I like having savings, and there has been a time when I haven't had that, but now I've got money stashed ready for me, so I can. I'm not doing it for the money, by the way, and that's the wrong attitude. If you want to just, if you want a certain career, and the money is fantastic, yes, and no one should work for free, but at the end of the day, sometimes to get the experience, sometimes you have to sort of start from the bottom, or start, get through the door first, and then it's kind of building up towards the things you really wanted to do. And I've been writing books, or sort of stories, and music, and all my life, and it's now become a job for me. Even though, again, some people are disputing it, but that's up to them. That's what they've chosen to believe. I'm not here to change people's mind. I'm here to help people through videos and through my books, and to help people switch off. That's what I see when I create a book. It's like as well as writing sort of autobiographies, it's also good to create news stories, that kids and adults can enjoy, you know. So for me, it's a school I've always had, and it's, you know, very natural to me. And same with like dancing. I did dancing since I was, I say, 3 years old onwards. So my first dancing school was Sylvia Dale, and then it was Jimmy Riley's dancing school, and then there was a few like drama groups I joined in between. And so, you know, and having that has been a great experience, because even if I didn't become a writer, writing is such a good skill to have, because, you know, you all sometimes need to sign letters, write a letter, and I think with all this text talk, sometimes I feel that we kind of get into the place where not many letters are written, but I still think it's something that should be taught in schools. You know, how to write a letter, how to write a, you know, create a CV. You know, because and lots of companies now don't even ask for a CV now. They just want to know, you know, can you do the job and what you can bring to the table. But if they do ask, they should, you know, at schools, do more towards, you know, career development. Because I think those, like, and knowing what, you know, what a loan is, knowing what, you know, what a mortgage is, knowing what APR means, you know, if, you know, I think they should do more in terms of finance, because I learnt about, I did terrible at maths at school. I was the only kid to get a U in my year, and, you know, I am going to suck it up, because, you know, that's kind of feeding itself. And I learned my kind of maths, and that when I worked in accounts for an advertising agency, you know, I had to work out what exchange rates were, and how to work out VAT and all that. And so, you know, qualifications are great, but sometimes a lot of people don't actually go into the career that they've studied for, you know, and they go into the other sort of types of work before they get to their job they've done a qualification in. So for me, experience is better than qualifications, because it shows that you know, they want to know if you can prioritise, if you can reach deadlines, if you're reliable, if you're approachable, if you're someone who, you know, will put their work in. You know, if you're worth going the extra mile. Are you someone that likes to go the extra mile? You know, are you someone that can bring something different to the table, to a company that no one else has? And so I do think experience, from my own working background, has been my biggest what's the word I'm looking for? Is my biggest what am I looking for? Is my biggest thing that's kept me and made me go into really good jobs, because you know, I've worked for I did some, and also never forget about temping, because I did that for a while. Temping is really good. You can get regular work when you do temping. I often got long-term temping work, and still work for really good companies, like the International Tennis Federation, Hayes and Jarvis, Diamonds Club, which is a big, like, connected to, like, the Bank of Zurich, Cytel, which is a massive contact centre, Merlin Entertainments, who sell tickets for many attractions. So I've had quite a good, you know, I would say substantial jobs, and and you know, they has helped me, because you do need to learn about, even if you do come and write to yourself, you do have to still learn how to prioritise, and other channels that you can go. And you know, and the other thing is to is also learn how to protect your money. That's something that I do think they should teach in schools, how to protect your money, and about, you know, I think it should be life learning skills, rather than, you know, having to read. Shakespeare is alright, but are you ever going to use that language when you go and buy a loaf of bread? You know, are you gonna, you know, have to speak Latin now? Not really. So I do think, you know, life skills are much more important than sort of worrying about, you know, for example, like in maths, the area of volume. And if you're into like DIY or like or like building, then that's important. But if you're not, you know, and I think things like, you know, learning about, you know, shares and you know, what not to just spend your money on, what to spend your money on, you know, are the best life learning skills that I think anyone can have, because, you know, when you go into the big wide world and start working, it is totally different. You don't have your meals made for you every day. You don't have, you know, somebody, you know, reading your story every day. It's something you have to then start to stand on your own 2 feet, and that's why I'm glad that I do have, you know, independence, and I can't wait to actually have another place on my own again, which is in the pipeline. I'm just waiting for a few things to be put in place, ready, but that is going to happen, even again some people are disputing it, but it is. And once I do move on, you know, it will be a brand new start. You know, every life is about chapters, and I know I'll come to the end of this one. I'm moving on to the next one, you know. Just that sometimes things take time, you know. You just got to be patient and just keep working, keep, you know, do some online training, because you can do that now, and lots of companies now do a lot of training online, so you don't have to go to a Sitting Guilds college. You don't have to, you know, do a diploma, because you can get all your training in-house. And the one thing that I was looking into doing, and because at first it was between those that were aged between 16 and 25, and that is apprenticeships, and I think that they are brilliant, and that was a path that I was thinking about going. And I would say don't disregard them, because they are great. You don't get the full wage when you're doing your study, but you can then go up. Your wage can go up once you do the qualification, and then you know, and then you're qualified, and then your money will go up, you know. But it's all about experience. So I do think experience is better than qualifications, in the fact that you know, you're not having a teacher telling you to do something. You just, lots of the work that I've done has all been about, you know, using my initiative, and you know, doing work without being supervised. You know, when you work in a contact centre, you don't really have anybody there, you know, telling you what to do. You do about, let's say, 2 weeks training sometimes, and then you will sit with an agent to learn what type of calls will come in, and what type of advice and tools are available for you to give advice. And then literally after the 2 weeks training, you then are ready to go live on the phones yourself. And at first it can be very daunting. After time, when I was given information, because it was troubleshooting and technical support, and even I used to come off the phone thinking, what the F did I just say? I didn't know what I was talking about half the time. and you kind of had to do it in a way where the caller, believes, in what you're saying, even though you don't know what you're saying half the time. Because, I've never had a HCS system. I was still old school by then, where I still had a portable CD player. So I didn't have anything like MP3 until I was about, 30, For me, it was a bit like going in somewhere blind, but whenever I got a video recorder, I would learn to connect it myself. So, them types of skills are, much more beneficial than having to build a emergency alarm, which was part of our design and technology coursework. It's much better to learn, about connecting cables and and how to set up electronics and modern technology. Because honestly, I used to find it a struggle to try and give advice, and then when you had somebody on the phone who was more qualified than you, you felt completely, utterly foolish, and as if you're the caller and they're the expert, But those sorts of jobs you had to kind of learn. Lots of it I learned on my own, and I had to kind of sit there when there weren't calls coming in, going through like the tools and the information that I had, and a lot of the time when you go into jobs, you do often have to learn to train yourself, because they didn't cover everything that we had to take calls on, because it would have been probably a month worth of training, and really it's one of those jobs where you learn as you take each call. So and then you also, and to make sure that you're not kind of being rude or breaking the policies and regulations, you would get monitored on your calls, and they would mark you, based on your call if you didn't say a certain word. Or like when I worked for entertainment company, you always had to give a attraction specific, so kind of say, oh, make sure you check out such and such a ride, it's fantastic. And if you didn't do that on each call, you got marked down on it. So them sorts of jobs, you do have to really, it is a lot to do with experience and learning on the go, with writing writing is a skill as well, because obviously when you write something as well, you have to write it so the person, writing a book and writing a blog is different to writing like an instruction manual or a guide, or notes that we used to write when I worked at the call centre, because you have to write in a way that if somebody else checks that call in the database that you've entered the person's details in, doesn't make sense, and then it makes it harder for the next agent to deal with that case or deal with that customer's query. So you did have to kind of make sure that your writing was clear, precise, to the point, because normally once we read an essay, if you're taking 50 calls a day, you just don't have the time. So a lot of it was experience based rather than your qualifications, because they also did in-house qualifications, and I did my level 2 in customer service whilst I was there. So lots of companies do in-house training, which is great, and you can even do that if you're working for an agency. Sometimes they will do courses and extra training. So don't knock them, but just be careful, because a lot of agencies, they put a job on the job sites, and then you go there and then they say, oh no, that job's been taken, and all they want is you to be on their books. And that really used to, and it got to the point where I had to go at a company who did that. They weren't far from their head station, and I made it clear to them that it had to be somewhere where I could get to. I didn't have to spend a lot of money on fare or cabs or anything like that, and it was miles away. And then I wrote an email to them and said, can you please check me with your books, because I told you that, you know, it couldn't be a job where I had to spend so much on fares, because then I'm not earning anything, you know. And you do have to, when you work for, you know, work for companies, and you know, that's one thing you should think about, because yes, it's good to do jobs that you've kind of done your qualifications in, but if it's gonna cause you to be miserable in the fact of money, then and like travel, then it can be, you know, more of like a chore than a dream job. I'm not saying that you shouldn't go an extra mile, but it all depends on what it is, really. Apprenticeship jobs are a lot lower in hourly wage than a full-time job. You know, it's completely different, because basically you're working and doing a qualification at the same time. So you would probably do like someone was like, you work 4 days a week and then go do 1 day at college, that sort of thing. But it's still good to do. I mean, I would never knock the apprenticeships, because it is worth doing if you've just come out of college or university, or you're coming up to your last year and you're worried about getting a job. You know, just have a look. There's different channels you can go. I found one. The very first job that I had in terms of working up in London, I found that via the careers agency, but I don't think they exist now. But that was a channel. And then my job at Grey Advertising, I found via Adecco, which was a employment agency. And because it was a full-time job, and I passed the probation period, they actually gave me travel vouchers, which was a nice surprise. I don't think I ever used them, but they, you know, it was a nice incentive. And then I worked for another company in Sign Lane, which is more like Middlesex. I found that job via the Evening Standard, because the Evenings, I don't think that exists now, but there used to be a paper called the Evening Standard, and they used to have like lots of jobs in there, kind of like Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And then the other jobs I found is via agencies like Hayes and Jarvis, Hayes Personnel, Adecco, and I would also look on Indeed, which I always look on. Total Jobs, that's brilliant. Jobs Go Public. Where else? Gumtree's alright, but be careful, because lots of those companies have like you have to be careful on Gumtree, because a lot of them are like people wanting you to do like odd jobs and come with viruses. So they're not a legit company, they just want to hack into your computer and put a virus on it, so ignore. So I said don't dismiss Gumtree, but just be careful. Also check your local council. Now I'm not a big fan of councils, because they do not a lot of them, you know, can be very, very abrupt in the way they, you know, support the community, but they're not. I wouldn't say never knock them, because I did work for the borough cleansing department, and then I worked in the council tax department for Hammersmith and Fulham, and they were right. You know, it was, you know, I basically did the kind of like the mail, so any mail that came in I would have to read it, would go through it, and then it had to be distributed to different departments within the council tax office, and then I did something like booking accounts, and then I worked completely different. I then worked at which was a job I wanted to do since I was a kid, because I love holiday camps, and so I worked down at Butlins, and at first I was homesick, but I absolutely loved it. You know, it was to say, of all the jobs I had, that was the along with stewarding, was the best one because I loved it down there. I just chose the wrong path when it comes to that, because my dream was to be a red coat, and I never got the chance, and I'm a bit like regretful of that, because you know I did apply to the department, and it looked like it was going to happen, but then I don't know if I talk about this or not, but someone did, someone close to me that I knew that I was very much friends with, and that was a guy named Nigel, who was found dead in his chalet, and it kind of knocked me for six, and it was very kind of it was very sad, and it kind of and did kind of like, oh bloody hell, you know. But I still wish I stayed down there, and I would love to work at the holiday camp in Clacton, where I used to go as a little kid. That is one ambition that I've got. So I'm gonna look at that, because I'll still be writing, but I would still like to work at a holiday camp again, because it's great, you know, it's all there. But obviously, being a mum as well, that might be tricky. But not if, you know, I just work kind of like through the season, you know. But now, working at a holiday camp is great fun. It's a very different world. It's because you live on, basically. They made us pay for our meals and heat and electric, and they got in trouble for that, because they're not supposed to, because you have to live on, really, at those jobs. It's very rare that people live off, because it's you know, you get given a chalet, and often you have to share with people that you've never met before. And then you work, like when I worked in restaurants, I did split shifts. So I did it like 4-hour shift in the morning, 4-hour shift in the evening, and then I would then, you know, and I would I have my meal after my first shift, and my meal before my second shift. And then in the evening, once you finish work, was your own, so you could stay party on camp, or there were like pubs and that off camp. You know, as long as you behave yourself, because you still, if you know people knew you weren't about, then you still had to kind of behave, because obviously, you know, you're still representing the camp even when you're off camp, you know. And but it was a great job. I loved it. I worked in all areas of mainly the camp anyway, because often when I was at centre stage and they knew I worked there, and they would ask if I would collect some glasses, or you know, or and that sometimes I would work in the skyline, and then, you know, because you didn't just because you were working in kind of like the restaurant, it didn't mean you weren't ever going to work at other departments, because often you did. So you know, I did some of the I helped the cleaning department, the housekeeping department, you know, and like I say, to collect glasses. Sometimes I would, you know, get on the microphone in Jack's, and then still go in that morning drunk into work, which is not a good habit, but you know, it was. You wouldn't be able to get away with that now, but you know. But it's a great fun environment, and it was worth doing, and it was was a great experience, and you know, I would love to go back, you know, to work at holiday camp, you know, if it was just like a month or you know, a whole season. It's just that they're worth checking out if you're into travel and tourism. Then, you know, working at a holiday camp, I mean, obviously with lockdown and COVID, lots of them might not be open at the minute, because not really, this is out of season anyway, because even though they sometimes are, they still sometimes are on, because they have like adult weekends during like between the end of the summer period to the Christmas period, and then you work like the whole of Christmas, and then then it goes back to weekend, adult weekends from Christmas, from the end of like the start of the new year to the start of the summer season, like March, which it would normally be. And again, I did a lot of like in-house training there. You know, I did my intermediate food and hygiene. I did my investors in people, which is a good one to have. I did Kosh. I did what else? What's what other ones I did? I want to see Member of the Month once. And what else? What else training did we do? There's one other and I can't think of it. But it was good. I was going to do a NVQ as well, but because I didn't really want to work in the restaurants, I didn't continue because I really wanted to be a red coat. But I was also working in some of the bars as well, you know, when they knew that I worked there, because they would come up to me because I would be in Jack's on stage dancing, and then often, you know, get the microphone, me being me, and then, you know, they would say, oh, and they would recognise me and say, would you mind not going around collecting some glasses? And I'm like, no, it's fine, you know. You know, because, so, you know, even though you may start working in one area, it doesn't mean you can't work in other departments. And in fact, they prefer it, you know, and it's good. I will never knock it. It was a great experience. I met some wonderful people that I'm still in contact with via Facebook and Instagram, and you know, Messenger, you know, and you know, I absolutely loved it, and it was how I thought it would be, you know. In the end, it was great. And obviously I met some people who are well known in the celebrity world, and yeah, so, you know, I do think experience is better in some way of qualifications, but it doesn't mean not to bother. You know, I still am proud that I've got the marks that I did, you know, because I did struggle at school. Didn't like it every day. I didn't like it at all most days. PE was alright, and you know, when I was, you know, didn't mind English, but no, I was never a fan of school. I couldn't wait for it to be finished, and as soon as it came to the end of my school years, I got all my books, got my uniform, and chucked them all in the bin, because I just wanted to see the back of it, because I just like, no, I've had enough of school, you know. And I couldn't wait to get into work, to be honest. And so yeah, so I, you know, don't worry if you don't get full marks in your qualifications. You know, still put the effort in. I found it hard to revise, to tell you the truth. It was kind of like, I wish somebody else could revise for me, you know. It was one of my kind of hates, as well as being at school, you know. I couldn't wait, you know. Some days I'd be like, I'll come on 3:30, and even at 9 o'clock I was like, I really don't want to go in, you know. It was one of those, it was like, work for me was a chore, you know. It wasn't the greatest experience, not like it is, and my son loves school, you know, which is great, because it is totally different, you know. But it was, you know, the last place I wanted to be after time, you know. But, you know, working was the greatest thing I did, because it has got me a lot of experience and skills that will always be there, you know. And you just at first, you know, sometimes it's about getting your foot in the door. So, you know, like I say, working at Film Football Club was casual work, but it was still work, you know. And even that, you know, I would, you know, God would do that again. But like I say, and now I am, you know, working. You know, I do blogs, and I was setting up online courses and writing books. And even though there is a dispute that I'm not earning, I'm just keeping that money, you know, safe, so no one else can get to it. And then once, you know, things are put into place, then, you know, I'm looking forward to the next chapter, shall we say, of my life. So, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye bye.